عادي خلاص عشان نكبس معيش ريموت للبرزنتيشن فحضل هون.
خلاص نبدأ. Good evening. This will be our last session, the fifth session for the second day of our conference. We'll start with our keynote speaker, Muhammad Hamdan, security expert from Palo Alto Networks.
شكرا دكتور. And thanks everybody for being here. I know it's tough. The first session immediately after lunch usually is probably the worst one, so I hope I'll make it as light as possible and something that will give you an information. The idea actually, when I started to think about this presentation, came from how can we deliver a message that can be beneficial for people from educational sector as well as anybody else in the industry, and at the same time not to go into a product comparison which is not the right way actually when we talk about it. So we selected a topic about simplifying the complex threat. Now, all the threats nowadays, they're becoming actually more and more complicated. Now, you look at simple malware, which used to be actually delivered back in the 80s, are completely different than what we see right now. And when we look at what's coming in the future, or when we forecast what's coming in the future, so we see a major shift in how the attacks are delivered and the impact of the attacks. So we selected a topic which is probably common for many of you, is the crypto wall. Crypto wall is one of the famous encryption tool or malware ransomware attack that developed itself, actually, that was one of the generation that came into the picture from the last year. And why crypto wall version 3 is important to talk about, because what we noticed actually in the previous versions of the ransomware, they were targeting only commercial people. They were targeting the residential people, human, a mother sitting behind a computer at home to encrypt the pictures and then to start negotiating on this one. But when you look at the ransomware nowadays, they are changing. So a quick update on what is ransomware. So ransomware is a kind of a malware that comes into a computer. It infects the computer to restrict access to certain system or data files, and at the end to start negotiate. So that is the ultimate objective for any cyber criminal who works in this area and the ransomware. They want money, and the simplest way for them to come up with money is restrict your data and then start negotiating with you. How much will you pay for them to return their data? And they do really well when it comes to encryption. They encrypt data with very high standards of encryption, some standards that you cannot really decrypt unless you get the decryption key from them. Okay, and it's really in action. As I said, the shift in Crypto Wall 3 was that they moved from encrypting photos in your directory and your personal computer into commercial sectors, and then they start to negotiate with higher money and higher margin. So hospitals, it was getting into hospital. They started with a hospital in California, one hospital that was compromised. They managed to encrypt the health information system and the patient record system for that particular hospital in California. And they started the negotiation with $3.2 million. The reason why is the criticality, actually. So they managed to get into a famous hospital. They managed to stop the operation of that hospital for a week. During that part, all the hospital has to go back actually into operation into manual way. And if you are in health information system, you will know how awful is it actually to move back from being everything electronic into going back into the normal way, writing and paper and this and that. Now they managed actually the hospital. They didn't have a good security at that time, but luckily they had a good negotiator. So they paid only $17,000, and they managed to get all their data back. And that didn't stop here, actually. So at that same period, there were some schools in California in the same area, actually, that were attacked by the ransomware. Negotiation prices were getting higher and higher. We have seen, actually, we have analyzed the first ever iOS crypto wall or ransomware. So they're even getting into the mobile devices, into the iPhone. iPhone has been known actually as a very solid operating system, closed, protected, but the attacker, the benefits behind it attract them well to go beyond the limit and to develop a new tool that can encrypt even iPhone and iOS. Lately, only few weeks ago, Calgary University as well were under hit, and they get the same attack, same type of attack, and their email system was encrypted at that time. As well, that encryption stayed for a week, 10 days, and the VP of IT actually, or the finance and operation within the university, they mentioned that it was a very complicated attack that were targeting the university. At the same period, NASA was attacked with the same thing, and at the end they had to pay. So there was no way to unlock their email system except with paying $20,000 in ransom. So that is the challenge where it is right now, actually, is that we see a shift in the malware delivery and the targeting, actually, to move into where the money is. And they're getting it from everywhere, actually. As we mentioned, we've shown, an example in a hospital, in a university, wherever. Everybody is under under attack. And the money is worth it. So when we analyze Crypto Wall 3, only for 7 to 8 month actually period. We are leading the Cyber Threat Alliance in the US, as Palo Alto Networks, along with other security professionals into the industry. So we have analyzed only CryptoWall version 3 and all the sub-versions that were coming after the same one. So there were more than $300 million that they made a profit, of course, through Bitcoin. So we are giving them, the industry is giving them more freedom in how to collect money and how to get it into their network. Okay. Now, if you get into the details, if you drop into the details, there were lots of command and control URLs that were moving. During that example, there were a 5-second IP address control that they can shift. So they were really advanced. The investment that they put back into their infrastructure as a cyber criminal is really big. And if you analyze, it's a simple way to fix any complicated problem is, break it down into smaller problems and then start to analyze each part of that problem. So if you get into how the anatomy of the malware is working or how the anatomy of the cyber attack is working, it's getting multiple stages. So the attack doesn't go from inception directly into infection without going through multiple stages that they have to. So they have to scan the perimeter of any target computer. They have to identify certain people that they want to use them to get into the corporate. And usually the first malware is not the malware, is not the ransomware. It's just a dropper, is a tool that will help the ultimate attacker of delivering whatever second or third vector of the malware to get into the network. So, and it starts easy. When it starts with an email link, a defaced website with an exploit kit, and then you get everything encrypted into your computers or into that particular computer. And unless you pay, you cannot get your data back. Some of the incidents that they were attacked by ransomware, they consulted the legal firms within their territories. And there was no answer, actually. There's no help that they can help them with. If you want your data back, you have to negotiate and pay the ransom into them. And the problem is not stopping. Looking at ransomware, the expectation is it will grow and it will grow and they will add more services into it because of the amount of revenue they make out of it. Okay? Let's now get into the stages of the problem. How do they get it? What is the life cycle of any attack? And this is not limited to ransomware. This is not limited to Palo Alto Networks. Any attack, any company that is working in the prevention area, they understand these stages and they start to develop their solutions and tools to address it. Now, if we look at how does it start, there is always unauthorized access that will lead the attacker to unauthorized use of that particular data within the computer or of the network access that they have. But of course, there is no predictable path of how that will happen. There might be changes in the stages. Some of the stages they can shift across the attack. So that is why we have to have a solution that is fixing it on all stages. If we look at what current networks they are providing, we have solutions. There's no network that they don't have a firewall or an IPS or probably an antivirus on their network, an SMTP solution to protect them. But there are many problems of the legacy solution. How does it work? Is that we still have a limited visibility. Although we have many solutions deployed in our networks, we don't have a consolidated view of our security solutions. We still have to read some stuff here, some stuff there, and to add and to do a human correlation between them. Even that one, actually, if you go through it, the correlation is really difficult. And if you depend on manual, it's almost impossible. If you go with tools, you'll get the integration problems of having a SIM solution or a log analytic solution that is reading from product 1, product 2, product 3. The best they can offer is a guess, and they will leave it to the admin to decide what to do. So that is another problem. And then we look at the manual response. So that is the last part of it, is if I see a problem in my web gateway, how will I make sure that my data center is protected against that? When you look at, security professional working at organizations, we're still doing the actions manually, while the malware, the threat, the attackers, everything is automated. They only start the seed and they make computers attack. So if you put the balance, it doesn't work. If computers are attacking, then we have to have automation in responding. If we continue to have manual response, we'll always fail into it. Now let's get into the stages. And breaching a perimeter is the beginning of any attack. And in breaching the perimeter, so we talk about not only the security devices that you have, not only the firewalls that you have in your network, even your proxies, sometimes the human, sometimes the mobile devices that you have. All of them, they can act as a perimeter. So perimeter is an indication of any object or human who can lead into the network. So we have to have a protection over there, because that is the first stage of any attack. And here where we talk actually about improving the security defenses and the security measures that we have on our gateways. As I said, gateway is not only where the internet is coming. Gateway can be my third-party solution, my third-party contractors, or my business partners, or the community of the universities. When we talk about educational sector, there are many third parties that they can act as a perimeter. So that is where you really need to have a very solid solution that can allow only the legitimate traffic, whatever that legitimate traffic is. So you decide as a security, first of all, what is the legitimate traffic? And then the same solution has to have the intelligence and the capabilities of analyzing anything that is known, block it. If it's unknown, then I have to analyze it and make it known. Read all the indicator of compromises, whether that file is good, bad, take an action of it. Then we get into delivering the malware. So as I said, breaching the perimeter was phase one. In many advanced malwares, we don't see the malicious code being delivered at the first stage for many reasons. Sometimes the attacker, the main investment that they made is in their malicious code, and they don't want it to be published or disclosed immediately at the first wave of attack. So they start with basic troppers. They start with malwares that can only land into the computer. If it succeeds, then they can establish an encrypted tunnels back into their command and control server, and then download the real malware. So downloading or delivering the malware is a very important topic as well, or stage of any defense when we look at attack. And that is where, again, we have to look at a solution that can combine the endpoint power and the network power. Because the malware will come from the endpoint, but there are many cases that I'll see it starting from the endpoint itself. So that is where I really need to look at and improve the efforts. Lateral movement, another stage. If it's an attack to target a specific digital asset into any organization, so they will land in a computer, and then they will start jump from a computer to computer until they reach their destination with them. If they want to get access into the directory service of any organization, they know that it's difficult to access the directory service directly from the internet. So it's easier for them to access a system admin computer through social engineering to know who's the system admin, who's the active directory admin of that particular organization, land into that computer, the system admin, and then start to do lateral movement between to get into the target. Last but not least is the exfiltrating the data. Okay, so they want to do something with that particular computer. They want to steal data, take it outside through a phone home connection, and that can be in many cases it's encrypted tunnel that you cannot read it in any security device that you have in between. So that is the stages. Those are the main stages of any cybersecurity attack or advanced attack into any network. And as I said, this is not something that we developed as Palo Alto Networks. It's how the industry is looking at it. Now, there are many interpretations of the stages. Some analysis, the kill chain, they move it into more stages, but those are the main ones. And we try actually always to make it simple. Because if you want to defend complex attack, if you start to think about a complex solution, you will fail. You have to simplify it. If you don't simplify it, if you don't go with stages, you'll always fail. And for a successful attack to happen, all the 4 stages, they should be successful for a single attack to happen. While for any cybersecurity professional to prevent an attack, they want only to prevent one stage. If they have success in blocking one stage, the attack is stopping. And the attacker will start to think about a new wave of attack where all the 4 stages, 6 stages, 8 stages, depending on how do you read it, will be successful so that the complete attack will be successful. So that is the key, to be honest, is that although the cost of having security solutions and security professional is increasing, but by simplifying the way you address the attack, by only looking at the right things in your network to prevent and to improve the security devices, you'll make it more costly for them to attack any network. Okay. That prevention has to be in all the layers that we talk about. So it has to be actually sitting in the mobile devices. When you look at how many Wi-Fi connected computer we have into any organization, that number is growing, and that number by far is the highest growth into any to any computing devices, into any network. So we have to look at securing that one, securing our internet security, our internet edge, securing between the VLANs, how the VLANs they communicate. If a network or a particular part of my network is compromised, I don't want that compromise to go all through the networks. Between the VM, when we get into the data centers, looking at the virtualization, which is another topic, another solution that were actually provided and developed to improve the efficiency of our data center, but it adds more risk. That now we have parts of our network which are completely invisible to us, which is a virtual machine to a virtual machine sitting in the same hypervisor. So we need more solution and more protection than that one. Looking at the cloud and how the people they adopt the cloud. So that is another part that we need to consider when we secure our networks. So we need really to look at this side and how traffic is going. And only looking at each part by itself will not fix the problem. We have to integrate all levels of security that we have. So we have to have the automation of correlation, any detection that I find in any segment, in any area from my network, and get the indicator of compromises to all parts of my network at the same time. So if attack is coming from my perimeter, then my perimeter detects the malware, should inform my data center solution, my data center security, my endpoint security at the same time, about all the indicator of compromises. What is the malware? How does it look like? The command and control traffic going outbound of any network, how does it look like? It has to happen automated and at the same time. And that is why we've actually, for the last 2 years, we've been talking about a platform. Security is not a product anymore. It's a platform, it's a fabric that is connected to each other, where our vision to it is that we have 3 main areas that we have to improve and we have to continue putting our effort to secure. We start with the next generation firewalls, because that is where you have full visibility and more control into your networking side. So when you secure, so we see more, and we have more security into it. We look at our endpoint solution. So that is where we need to look where the malware or the attack is landing. Where is the destination, the ultimate destination of any attack? Whether that endpoint is a personal computer or is a server. For us, it's an endpoint. Looking at the cloud, the third part of the platform, and that is where we see more data going up into the cloud. So the attackers will shift their focus actually from targeting enterprise only to go into the cloud, depending on how fast organizations they move into the cloud. Some of them, they're really fast. I mean, we've seen some analysts like Gartner, for example, they talk about by 2017, 40% of the enterprise data center will be across the globe will be in the cloud. And that number will continue to grow year over year. So those forming the platform where we really believe those are the main pillars of any protection and any security that should happen. And if you look really good in each part of that platform within your network, you really get a good solution. And you really make it very expensive and costly for any attacker to breach your network. The reason why is you improved all the stages that you have into your network. I mean, keep it always at the back of your mind when you think about security. Remember the stages. If I succeed only in blocking one stage, the attack is killed. And the attacker has to start a new attack with a new vector. So that is our actually solution to it. That is how we address it. And we are continuing to add more products, more and more products and solutions into that one. So, I mean, one of the recent was Aperture, which is the way to look at sanctioned and unsanctioned data flow between organizations and the cloud. People moving into Office 365, and now you have all your legal documents up there in the cloud. How can you control it? How can you secure it and make sure that it's not being compromised or used by cyber criminals? Yeah, autofocus, cyber threat and intelligence, as you mentioned, actually, you need intelligence. We need always to benchmark how good we do actually and how targeted attacks are moving. And without having everything together, without interconnecting all the elements and parts of our network together, we will always fail in one part of the attacker. And that is the ultimate objective of Palo Alto Networks, is to prevent the attack from the first stage. If it's not the first stage, and then the delivery. If it's not in the delivery, then in the lateral movement. If it's not in the lateral movement, the last but not least is in exfiltrating the data. And if we success to do that, if we succeed in doing that, it's actually securing our customers and getting them better security into their network. And thank you. So that's it.
Thank you, Engineer Muhammad. Yeah, this one's better.
Go ahead.
Any question? No.
wondering if you have anticipated how you will accommodate in the enterprise new devices that are coming along, part of Internet of Things, that may be internal to the network, but may be answerable to outside of your network.
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question, actually. And in Palo Alto Networks, we really believe in the partners. We really believe security is not only our job. Palo Alto Networks is a major contributor of the security, but there are many other products out there in the market that they cover gaps that we don't do, that they cover areas we don't do. What you mentioned is one of the main areas. If we look at our platform, there's another version of it where we show our integration actually with other different technologies, and that is where we talk about bring your own devices technologies. How can we make sure any new device that is coming is actually being put in the right place for that one, and from our side we make sure that we give it the right privilege that will allow it to operate and to have a service, but will not compromise and will not open our network to the external users. And we do the integration with many players in that industry. I mean, Aruba is one of our strategic alliance in this area. We look at Cisco as a major player into this industry. Forescout, Bradford. Yeah, we do it. We spend some time with our partners, to be honest. Yeah, I hope that answers it. Thank you.
Just have a question, in fact. You started presenting about ransomware, and then you talked about prevention of malware attack. Is it just specifically just for ransomware, or just any sort of malware?
Yeah, it's any sort of malware, absolutely. I mean, we selected ransomware because it's becoming a headache for almost all the organizations nowadays, but it's not the only one. Any attack can happen in the same one. And the first part was only to show you a showcase actually of how harmful would be an attack.
As a flashy topic, ransomware has been selected.
You're right.
Okay, ransomware use encryption, as you said, right? Well, assuming we have a computer encrypted with encrypted data, so what's Palo Alto is doing on this?
We encourage all the customers to analyze ransomware as well as all other attacks before they happen. Because if they happen and they encrypt the data, there is no technology on earth that can restore the data.
Yes.
That is only on ransomware. Yeah. So we say that if you analyze any attack, ransomware or all of them, you'll find that protecting, all the stages will help you not to get into that stage.
Just to second on your presentations, I was involved with two cases that I was investigated. It happens in Australia. One targeted a medical center in Queensland with 10 computers, and the criminals deemed a 5,000 Australian dollar, and the other one targeting a small cafe, and the hackers deemed 10,000 Australian dollar. And in both cases, the first case they lost the data, and the second case they lost the data because they refused to pay. So I agree with you, it's a huge problem. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. Good that you mentioned those examples.
Yeah, during your talk, you talked about lots of questions that need to be answered. Where is the attacker coming from? Where it's going to? What time it's understanding the attacks? How you are aiming to addressing these questions?
Yeah, this presentation, if we get into the details, I can spend hours and hours. I was just I can stay with you actually till Saturday discussing only ransomware. And as you mentioned, there are many things under the hood that you really need to look at. You really need to address them. What we mentioned in this presentation is the high level of those things, but what you said is right. The IP address infrastructure that they use, the Bitcoins infrastructure that they have. And I would refer you actually to the Cyber Threat Alliance that we're leading in the US. We have our website where we show lots of details. We get into the technicalities of the URLs that the cyber criminals they're using, how long did this URL was valid for, and what was the command and control traffic looks like. That there are many things under the hood that needs to be addressed. But if I mentioned it, I think, is if we are dragged with the attackers to start and think in complicating the solutions we're adding, we'll fail. So as simplifying it, we don't panic against them. Will give us really edge and prevention. Yeah.
Thank you, Mohammed.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Now analyzing cybercrime strategy, the case of phishing attack. Rula?
It's restarting, I guess. Okay. My topic is about cybercrime strategies. My name is Rula Halasa. I study masters in web intelligence. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Jafar Al-Qatauna for contributing for the success of this paper. First of all, I want to introduce cybercrimes. We all know terrestrial crimes. Cybercrimes are different than terrestrial crimes in that they are don't require the physical presence of the criminal. Also, in that they can be done with limited resources, with the aid of computer. As we all know, and the attacker apply the skills they learn in order to perform the attack. Phishing attacks are a form of cybercrimes where the attacker tricks the victim to give in their sensitive information. This sensitive information can be used in order to obtain financial profit or and most times could be leading to identity theft of the victim, which can be used for malicious purposes. Phishing attacks can have varying negative impacts on the victims, from losing their money to losing their to having their identity stolen and used for bad reasons. As the cyber criminals keep evolving their methods and skills to avoid being caught by intrusion detection systems, investigating different attack techniques and methodologies became a crucial step in developing an effective protection mechanism. Our contribution in this paper lies in analyzing the cybercrime strategies, phishing attack techniques, and studying the techniques used by the Russians, the Chinese, the Ghanaians, and the Nigerians. Cybersecurity is the group of policies and processes and practices that are designed to protect the cyber environment. The cyber environment includes the information and the information resources. The cybersecurity is concerned in protecting them from being attacked, to become damaged, or from unauthorized access. Protection, also cybersecurity is concerned in the protection of other assets, such as the connected computing devices, the employees of the organization, the infrastructure of the organization, and the applications, services, and the telecommunications systems. Also, the cybersecurity is concerned with ethical impacts of cybercrimes on the society members, other than having personal information stolen or tampered with. The challenges lie in that the attackers are always one step ahead of the security experts. Also, there is a challenge in managing and covering all the aspects of the attack techniques. which affect decision making when trying to choose the proper mitigation technique for the attack. There are 3 factors associated with any risk. First of all, we need to know who is attacking. Second of all, we need to understand the attack technique used, and then state the impacts the attack has on the organization or the individual. There are statistics obtained from Hackmageddon. In 2016, we noticed a rise in cybercrime activities. The highest was in March. When we compare them with 2014 and 2015, we noticed that there is an obvious rise compared to other attack activities, such as hacktivism, which is usually motivated by social motive or trying to get a message to the public. Cyber espionage, which is concerned with spying on well-known figures or other countries. Cyber warfare, which is the cyber war, where countries attack each other using attack techniques. Okay. The negative impacts of cyber crimes, as mentioned in the Australian Cybersecurity Report in 2015, include, and these also the impacts that are applied to phishing attack victims: damage of personal identity and reputation, loss of business or employment opportunities, psychological and emotional well-being of victims, financial loss from fraud, cost of immediate responses when the victims directly respond and then they find out they've been tricked, system remediation costs, flow on costs to governments, support programs to assist the victims from such attacks, economic impacts and the loss of consumer trust, ethical impacts on some vulnerable groups in society, such as teenagers and young children who get to become victims of attacks. I mentioned 5 techniques in my paper, which are the link manipulation technique, filter evasion technique, covert redirect, and phone phishing. Phone phishing is used by faking a caller ID to perform a call that is that poses to be from a valid organization. Okay, as for link manipulation, which is used in phishing attacks, it can be done in 3 ways. For example, the attacker can use misspelled URLs. By misspelling the URL of a well-known website, the victim may not notice that the URL is misspelled and clicks on it. Also, they can use internationalized domain names, where using a different encoding of a certain letter can appear visually similar to the victims, and they can be tricked and click on the link as well. Also, link manipulation can be formed by changing the text of the hyperlink. As for filter evasion, the use of images instead of text to evade the phishing detection filters. The phishing filters detect text that is common in phishing attacks. Due to the filter evasion technique, the phishing filter have evolved and started to use methods such as optical character recognition and the intelligent word recognition filters for detecting handwritten text in images and rotated text as well. Website forgery is using JavaScript commands to alter the address bar by closing the real bar and opening a new one with the legitimate URL, or by placing a photo of a valid URL over the address bar. Website vulnerabilities can also be used against victim using cross-site request forgery, cross-site scripting. Here's an example of website request forgery, where a victim is tricked by clicking on hidden image URL, hidden image tag to perform a financial transaction that the bank validates eventually. Covert redirect, where the user is redirected to the malicious website by clicking on an infected pop-up, login pop-up for the infected website. For those who doesn't know the open authorization, it is an open standard for token-based authentication and authorization on the internet. Here's the normal flow, where you go to the authorization, you click on the authorization, the prompt will appear and you will log in to the third-party website and you are redirected back to your website. The covert redirect flow, where the malicious website takes you to the authorization prompt. You think it is the valid website, but it's not. And then you are redirected back to the malicious website, where they can obtain your information. The phishing styles of the Ghanaians, the Nigerians, and the Russians, and the Chinese are studied. First, I will start with the Nigerians. Nigerians and Ghanaians are limited in resources, unlike the Russian and the Chinese. They are famous for their 419 email scams, where they specialize in using broken English and broken grammar within these emails. We all know, or we all have been, we all have received such emails where the Prince of Nigeria wants to send a large sum of money, and they want your help to transfer this amount, offering usually a good sum of money as a reward. And many people fall for these scams. Recently, Nigerians are using malware injection through emails to perform their tricks, as their tricks are evolving. To mitigate from the Nigerian attacks, users are usually advised to pay attention to the sender of the email, pay attention to the title, pay attention to validate who is sending you the email. If it's trusted, then open it. If it's not, just report it or send it to the junk. Ghanaians, they adopted their styles from the Nigerians. They are also limited in their resources. But they specialized in that they are faster than the Nigerians, anonymous, and they can obtain higher financial returns from their attacks. They are famous for their romance frauds to obtain the victims' information. Also, they are using social network websites to perform their attacks. I don't know if any one of you have heard of Sakawa. It is a religious ritual in Ghana, and it's also a term to refer to the cyber criminal there, where some religious rituals are performed to have the attacker blessed for performing the attack. And the attacker, by that, ensures that he goes unreported to the government. Same thing goes for the Ghanaian style. The user who uses the social media also must be aware of whom he sends his personal information to. Chinese style. Chinese have wider range of resources available. Attackers develop better skills. The Chinese are more interested in gathering information for profitable reasons. So they use different methods. Companies usually are the victims of the Chinese attacks, as obtaining the company's information may lead to producing competitive goods, which can affect the company's profits. A recent attack reported by an organized criminal group called Yin Mob. The attack was under the name Hummingbird, which affected millions of Android devices. The Hummingbot obtains root access on the Android device and impersonates the user. And uses this impersonation to obtain ad clicks, which obviously made them make a large amount of profits in short period of time. How to get rid of...
Especially the time is finishing now.
Time's finished. Okay.
Yeah.
Just 2 more things.
15 minutes. You have 15 minutes to finish.
Okay.
Any question?
I'm almost done.
1 minute.
1 minute. Just the Russian style.
Okay.
Okay. The Russians have good education and skills. They specialize in either working independently or in groups. They are more quiet than the Chinese when getting in and getting out of the victim system. Therefore, they are harder to detect than the Chinese. Pavel Vrublevsky and Igor Gustev are famous for spam and illegal online pharmacies for financial profit. This is an example of Russian style. Okay, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Any question?
Your talk, in fact, it's interesting, and I've read your paper. Just a quick question: how you are differentiating between China? How you determine this is a Chinese email or this is a Russian email? Have you applied linguistic?
No, I tried to check different researches and read about the motives. I paid attention to the motives of each party.
Okay. Yeah.
So further research will include deeper digging into these methods.
And maybe for future to take in consideration to think of English spam's email be written by Chinese people, or for example, English email be written by a Russian citizen.
Yes, of course. Yeah. I didn't find enough research on this, but I will do some more further research.
Well, I will send you a very interesting paper.
Sure, thank you very much. Thank you. Any further questions?
Thank you very much. Fraud Prevention Framework for Electronic Business Environment, Nazir Gadashe.
Good afternoon. My name is Nazir Gadashe from the University of Jordan, Aqaba branch. I am here to present my paper about the same topic that my colleague was presenting. It's about the phishing and the automatic detection of phishing attacks. Firstly, I would like to say that we always use internet to access our work, to communicate with our friends, and to gain access to many resources. So that's what we call e-business. In e-business, we have, for example, the e-commerce, which is a small part of e-business, the collaborations, the business intelligence, which is the analysis of, or I can say is the collective work of machine learning processes to gain useful information. Now, what is phishing? I think the previous presentation was comprehensive about what is phishing. I just would like to mention that the term phishing, or the PH in the phishing, is a term used as a slang between the hackers. In the past, they used it, they called freaks, and they used PH as in their communications. We have modern terms about also concerned to phishing as spear phishing. That's when you target a specific community, a specific group of users, and mobile phishing, of course. Now, how it works? First, the phisher tries to steal the identity, your information, your sensitive data. So he uploads some script, he fakes a website, he fakes an image or something to convince you that this is a legitimate website or tool. So you enter your information, and he can use this information. And this is an example, but maybe it's not clear, a PHP script where they can steal the Dropbox credentials from users. This is a simple phishing example. It starts by an email, usually, or traditionally used by an email, where you have a generic greeting, you have a link with no HTTPS, no secure socket layer or encryption in the communication, a forged link, and you can see a sense of urgency. You need to reply or respond within 24 hours, by the end of the day, or your account will be closed, or your data will be, for example, deleted. On the right side, we can see the forged website. We can see here that there is a link that seems to be the original website, but actually it's a subdomain. It's a long URL where the subdomain seems to be the link that you are visiting. So these are modern stats. I collected these data yesterday from a website called Fish Tank, where they collect information about phishing websites and they report them. So we can see in almost the month of July, we have around 3,000 reports about phishing websites, of which about 300 are real phishing websites. They are verified. These stats are since yesterday. And we have online valid fishes about, the number of valid fishes about 35,000. They exist online right now. So one of the solutions is proposed by one company. They called the Social Engineer. We can visit that website, socialengineer.com. They offer phishing as a service. So you can have your employees or workers or students being attacked, and then you can gain some reports. The reports will be analyzed to develop or train your employees, your students, to how to fight these attacks or to see how vulnerable your company is. I don't know if it's applicable, if we can use this, but it's one of the solutions there. Let's go through the literature. Some researchers see that awareness of the online users is the main reason or the main defense line. You have to be aware of what you are doing. It's not something easy to be detected over the internet. Some used intelligent rule-based phishing website classification. They classify the details about the website or the phishing attack into 4 categories. They analyze the address bar, the URL, and the domain name, abnormal features in the website, maybe pop-ups or something else, JavaScript, HTML, and scripts, and the domain analysis. And usually, new domains or recent domains, almost a common characteristic in between phishing websites. Another issue or another research in 2015, they included or they recommended that we have to seek for the intention and the purpose of the website, of the phishing websites. So we can see legitimate information, but the intention behind is something else. And many others. I will not go in details. These are some of the literature. So my proposed framework that you should have an automatic extraction and codification of website descriptors. I call them descriptors. They could be URL features, JavaScript features, or any features that may characterize the websites. The datasets are available. There are many datasets. Everybody has his own point of view of what could be analyzed to detect a phishing website. Then we can propose a classification model to segregate the malicious websites. So I have features extracted, then into a model, then we have to alert the user. You are using, or you are entering a phishing website or a malicious website or something that could steal your identity or something else. My dataset is from the UCI machine learning repository. It's a famous online available dataset, about 11,000 instances about website features, and they are classified into phishing and legitimate websites, almost the half. I divided the dataset further into 2 more datasets for analysis. My analysis went as follows. First, for model building, I did classification over all the input variables, over the 11,000 instances, and I tried to get classification accuracy. The second phase was attribute selection to reduce the dimensionality of data, and then I used the hybrid approach, which is I used the half A for attribute selection, Then the selected attributes were used to build the models using the half B, or the other half of the data set. And all my results were, the validation of my experiments, it was tenfold cross-validation. I know it might be not enough to prove an idea that tenfold cross-validation, but this is what I've done. My results, they show that one of the classifiers called rotation forest is one of the best classifiers, or they call it in simple selection classifier. I had, for me, good results. I compared them with many other researchers, even the original researchers who proposed the data set. My results were better than them. The total accuracy was 97%. 97% of the instances were classified or detected by the model that they are legitimate or phishing websites. Also, you can notice here in this column, phishing, that we have better identification or better classification results. So we can rely somehow on this model to detect or to expect where there are phishing websites. So my conclusions, that we have a mechanism to assist the online users in doing their work or exploring the internet. Sometimes we know that the phishing is there. There are attacks, but somehow we miss something. We tend to click the links after each other. So we have to assist the users to alert them that there is something suspicious here. Phishing is challenging. It's not easy. The attackers always change their strategies, change the way of writing their emails. So the automatic detection is always challenging. So we might need something dynamic. Something changes over the time, a dynamic model to detect that. The best performance, the random forest trees and rotation forest. They overperformed all the classification models that I've used or many others used. I would like to mention something about random forest trees or the decision trees in general. They give us idea about the nature of the decision. When you are going to classify, for example, this is a phishing website. What are the features that make it fishy or make it suspicious? So we can analyze the problem more, or we have more details about them, so we can use them for future researches. And awareness is important, because I didn't get 100% accuracy when I did my experiment. Maybe we have Arabic websites, we have many various websites, so we can't rely always on the computer or the algorithms that we have till the moment. For future work, attribute selection needs to be explored, because the variable selection or dimensionality reduction didn't go well with me. I didn't get very good results with dimensionality reduction. We might consider the Arabic context, because we might have Arabic content that are fishy, that, for example, an English or native speaker with an English language that cannot detect that this is a phishing website or not. He might see a link and click everywhere in the page, and he will be compromised. Over portable devices, as we can see, portable devices are getting more and more in reality, and we can do some optimization and exploring more hybrid approaches. These are my resources for this presentation, not my paper. So they are interesting, some about fish tank, other articles talking about fishing, modern things about fishing. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Any question?
Thank you very much for the presentation. I just have a thought, and I'm seeking a clarity on my second comments. Yes. The first thought, cyber criminal, they copy existence legitimate websites. Yes. Copy paste, right? Yeah, and they use the same word, they use the same capital small letter, they use even sometimes same links within the phishing page.
Sure.
Having said that, that's proof that existence machine learning techniques on the text mining will not work.
Yes, that's what I mentioned, that it is challenging and only the content is not enough. I mentioned something earlier here. One of the models, they analyze the address bar, they analyze the abnormal features,
Absolutely,
the JavaScript, something else.
Yeah.
If you would like to take a look at the data set, I have all of these features, about 34 features to look at, not only the context or the text in the page.
Very good. My second clarity that I'm seeking clarity for, you said you've used an existing database, right?
Yes, an existing data set.
Of how many sites?
About 11,000 something.
Yeah, and how did you, I've noticed you said you divide them into two.
Yes, this is the big pie chart. This is the whole data set. It's about 11,000, about 6,000 phishing websites, and about 5,000 legitimate websites. Then I further divided the data set into two other halves.
Yeah, exactly. This is where my question. Why did you divide them and how did you divide them?
For the third part, or for the third phase of my analysis, the hybrid approach, I used one data set to get the features, to detect what are the features that characterize the phishing website. Then I used these features to detect the phishing websites over the other data set.
Yeah, but the cross-validation will do that for you automatically without...
No, cross-validation will not do this. Cross-validation is, for example, you have a data set with 1,000 instances. You will do 5-fold cross-validation. It will divide it into 5 folds. It will take 4 folds for model building and 1 fold for testing. Then it will rotate 5 times. It will select the other 4 parts for model building.
Yeah, training and testing.
Yes. So it's just a way to validate your model building, or to say that your model building examined all the data set in building the model and verifying the results, not just a part that randomly may give some wrong results.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks. Just one other point with regards to your source data set.
Yes, it's
it came pre-classified.
Yes.
How was it classified originally? And are you sure it's 100% correct?
The researchers, they are, I think I have the name of one of them.
That doesn't tell you if it's correct.
They used fish tank or websites where they classify websites. They got the data set from there, and they classified the data set as they found there. So
I had the similar kind of results in a different data classifications set.
For me,
let me finish. My point is that you got quite a high percentage. And that might be as high as you're ever going to get, because there could be a couple of percent that are wrong in the actual data set that you're trying to match.
Yes. Yes, sure. I didn't say that my work is 100% correct. Yeah. Yes.
No, I'm saying
maybe some data, something wrong there.
Yes. Not your fault. You might be doing as well as you possibly can.
Yes, it could be. It could be. That's why I said we need to explore another data set. We might build our own data set to explore more. But something I'm doing in this research is something like a proof of concept, that I would like to have a mechanism online to detect the phishing websites. So I have something already existed. I did some experiments. Then I can say that this is possible, somehow possible. Yes. Yeah.
In your own language, how proliferation of in your own language on phishing side, is that a lot? Do you have the data on this?
I didn't get your questions, sorry.
The question is how proliferate of your own language on phishing side.
How we will use our own language in phishing website?
No. What's the situation in your own language?
How is it now? Yes, in Arabic. But I think I didn't do a research in this area, but I see it on Facebook, on WhatsApp, and the social media in general. You have a link, for example, this is a video. If you want to see this video, you have to click this link. And this is something about a singer, something popular, an event that is happening now. So you click the link, you get another page of Facebook or some website, you enter your credentials to see the video. So
maybe it's an area you need to get into. Maybe you're getting what is data from the Western side.
Yes.
What's mixing is your own area, your own country or your region's data?
Yes. It's important. We cannot generalize always. In research, we do some research over a small subset, then we go generalizing step by step.
Okay, thank you, Nazir.
Thank you all.
User profiling using the clickstream data analysis and classifications with Jan.
Good afternoon. Is the sound okay or what? Hello. There is a saying in the world that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So let's hope that my idea is very simple. Okay? So my project is user profiling using clickstream data and classification. My name is Widyan. I am a web development team leader and web intelligence master student. First of all, let me ask a question. Do you have a social profile anywhere? Do you have 2? Raise your hand if you have 3, 4. Okay, maybe I have 5. Okay. Social network is invading our life. Every day you are communicating with your friends, even with your work colleagues, via the social network. So social networks and this huge evolution of hacking techniques become an important aspect of today's world. So those social accounts of you, your email, your Facebook profile, your LinkedIn profile, all those profiles are protected via passwords. And due to the ignorance of the audience or the users of those profiles, and those users are categorized into all the majority of the people, we talk about young people, we talk about people with no technological background. This causes a weak password to be spreaded all the way. So raise your hand if your password have your name. Birthday, phone number. I'm not paying attention to security aspects. So our problem is that social network is coming everywhere and your data is there in the world and the hacking evolution is becoming a serious topic. So website provider now need to rely not only on the user understanding, not only on the user strength of password, they need to create an alternative for this to protect the user without his even knowledge. So user authentication, you are all aware of user authentication. I need to make sure that everything is done by my virtual identity is matching my actual identity. So the problem of current user authentication is that it depends on the user password, the user phone number, the user login. Some of the websites are working to create alternatives like Google, which I consider this methodology a great failure. When you log in into your email from another PC, they email you that you have logged into your email from another PC or another machine. So our proposed approach is to use an alternative of password and user entrance data. This alternative is by studying the user behavior and create a profile for this user behavior. So we believe that every human being interacts with everything around him in a unique way. This unique way might be in life or might be on the internet. So user X might navigate through YZW, another user might navigate through WYZ. So in the navigations, the click, some of the users have a habit of keeping the mouse cursor onto the right corner, the left corner, keep clicking. So this behavior might give us a unique identity for each user. So our proposed approach is to use this behavior to create profiles for the user that will support weak passwords and weak authentications. What we are using is the clickstream data. The clickstream data will be used to detect the user identity and to classify the users by user A and user B and whatever users are logging into this website. So clickstream, for those who don't know clickstream, as the name emphasizes, clickstream is the user habit of using the mouse, of navigating through the websites. All this data might be recorded and used for future use. Clickstream, for now being used in e-commerce, economics, they use it for the page ranking and to collect data about page access, how the user reached into this page, to create profiles for all the users. In security, clickstream also been used. There is a research about using a clickstream to detect cyber users. This research work on LinkedIn, they managed to get a very high accuracy percentage on detecting a true user from a cyber user. Now we need a collection tool to collect this clickstream data. This tool might be a plugin into any browser and collect all the user clicks. User clicks might be server-side, client-side. By server-side, I mean navigating through URLs. By client-side, I mean clicking on the same page or maybe scrolling the mouse. The clickstream data representation that we will work on, represented by the session ID, the user ID, and the navigation sequence. The sequence is very important, which represents the path. For user profiling, we're going to use association matrix and train this association matrix via clickstream data set, and then try to link every user with a behavioral profile. So we are planning on using a recorder. This recorder will record all the clickstream data. Our main focus is the social network, since the users log into those websites like frequently, and we might have a huge data set for every user that managed to create a profile for the user. So we'll create this recorder. We have a web service. This web service will take the recorded data and validate the user. If the user is not a legitimate user, then we will stop using the website from this authentication. So this is just a simple idea of creating a behavioral profile of the user and use it on Facebook. Let's talk, for instance, as a user, your habit is to go to the home page, then to X profile, then check your messages. So in case anyone is logged in to your Facebook account and he is doing another behavior that is not expected, the website might force you to log out, send you a text message or whatever, to prevent this unauthenticated access. As a future work, we are creating a project here in the university to collect the clickstream data and to start our analysis. We have a huge challenge of creating a real-time system. This real-time system will be continuous learning. As the user interacts with the website, we will keep recording those clickstream data and enter it to the trained set and get the results. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any question?
Thank you for your presentation. I have one recommendation for your proposal, because we have did a similar for behavioral authentication using keystroke dynamics. You should take in consideration the type of the mouse used. We have a laptop and we have a PCs. Different type source of input can the user use to input the stream. So the clicking stream from a laptop, it is could be really different from the stream coming from a PC. If you want to going to record the clicking stream, I don't know what is your proposed plan to record. You should record the operating system clicks rather than the audio of the sounds of the clicks or whatever. And thank you.
As for the recording, I'm going to just answer the question. As for the recording, we are thinking about a plugin on the browser. We need to have access to the vendor website, like we have access to the university website. Let's hope they will allow us to install this plugin. We will record the navigation URL, plus we will record the time he stays on the same page, plus we're going to record the click directions. Okay, so it's all going to be like a code behind in the website of the university if they allow us. Other questions?
Excuse me if this is something you've already thought of, but I reckon that you have to think carefully about how you represent the data in order to do the comparisons, because you will never get an exact match. So you have to have some measure of similarity or closeness.
You have error rates, so it's not going to be a 100% matching, like up to 75%. Like if the matching was up to a critical number, this user is an authenticated user. Otherwise, it's going to be a help tool. They won't rely only on this data to authenticate the user. So that's why I said they might ask you to log in again. Might you forget your account to open and someone else is using it? So the matching percent shouldn't be 100. It's not going to be 100 in any case.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Management attitude towards information security in the Omani Public Sector's Organization with George Weir.
Good afternoon, and thank you for surviving this far. This presentation is more on a socio-technical nature rather than highly technical, and this represents primarily work drawn from one of my PhD student's thesis. She's working on analysing the security context in public sectors organisations in Oman, and it helps that she works in a public sector in Oman, and she in fact is Omani. Okay. I'm sure many of you have the experience of working in large organisations where security is considered important, and you also will have the experience of knowing that security is often ignored. And one of the peculiar aspects of organisations is that they often say things that are very sensible and often do things that are not sensible. And my student Fatia has a strong feeling that in the organisations she's familiar with, particularly government-based organisations, that there is a tendency not to pay as much attention at the management level to security issues as she feels should be done. And this is the basis for some of her research. And she's trying to approach this in a slightly unusual way, because firstly she's been looking at some of the literature to see what it says about how management attitudes influence the behaviour of organisations in terms of security. And then she moved on to look at deriving the views of some of the people who work in these organisations to get their impression of what management's attitudes are. And she then tried to match one against the other. So I've said this is about Oman, but I would imagine that she would not be surprised to find similarities in other contexts. Certainly, I would imagine certainly other countries in the Arab region, but beyond that as well, I'm sure. Almost certainly China, not Hong Kong. So as I mentioned, the two main parts of this work was a review of the literature and then a survey of people working in these organisations and then some statistical analysis to see how these two details matched up. So it works on the concept of an information security culture, which you will find appears in many documents, many research papers, where they try to analyse the perspective represented within an organisation in terms of security, and especially the role that management plays in this context. And obviously information security is one component, albeit perhaps quite a large component these days in terms of overall security in organisations. And the general view is that organisations have a culture that influences many aspects of security, not least of all the internal culture for information security. So there were four questions that Fatiha's work was trying to address in this particular part of her research. Firstly, she was looking at the compliance level of information security in Omani public sector organisations. How far do they do the kind of things that they would be expected to do? What level is there of good governance practices? Do they actually have policies in place to do things that they should? And they were also looking at the relationship between the attitude of management generally and how that contributed to how much effort they put into their information security governance. And finally, what the relationship was between management's attitude towards information security and how far the organisation was inclined to comply with information security policies. So as I mentioned, the first part was to look at the literature to try and get some feel for what people are saying about the relationship between the management and their role in shaping good information security. And then the survey questionnaire that was given within Omani public sector organisations. So you may not be surprised. These are some of the points that came out of the literature survey. They reckon that the commitment of management is a prerequisite to any improvements in safety. And that's very broad. But of course, that commitment increases the motivation within the organisation and makes them more or less inclined to be concerned about safety and security. And management, of course, are responsible for providing the means, the financial, the collateral, the resource necessary to address these aspects of safety and security. And it was also seen in the literature that many people pointed out the role of top management as crucial in establishing the success of any actions or policy transitions in information security. So generally speaking, this last point, management support is seen as essential. So there were three hypotheses that were being tested here. Firstly, that there's a positive relationship between organisational culture and management governance activities related to information security policies. Secondly, there's a positive relationship between management attitude to information security and management governance activities regarding information security training and awareness. And thirdly, that there's a positive relationship between management attitude to information security and compliance with information security policies. So what's being said in each of these hypotheses is the assumption that the appropriate management commitment is going to have a positive impact on these related aspects. And that's what we're hoping this would test. So that brings us to the survey. The survey was a questionnaire in 3 different sections. The first section was the standard kind of demographic information. The second was mainly about the information security aspects, mainly what we're focusing on here. And the third was an opportunity for respondents to add some further insight and information. The main responses in the information security component required people to answer on a 3-point Likert scale. So yes, no, or not sure. And there were 4 dimensions in these questions that map to the 4 aspects that were mentioned earlier, the 4 questions. We're looking at the organisation's information security policy, their compliance with IS best practices, what level of security training and awareness was in place, and broadly what the managerial attitude was towards information security. This is the first set of questions that were asked, and this is specifically about the information security aspects. Does the organisation have a strong and enforced information security policy? Are employees educated about any updates in the security policy? Is a hard copy of the information security policy signed by all? Is the information security policy reviewed and updated periodically? And does the organisation monitor information security policy violation periodically? And what's shown here is the percentage of answers yes to these questions. So generally speaking, yes is a good answer for these questions. That's what we'd hope to see. But you find that overall, for across this set of questions, we have about 33% that say yes, which is pretty low, I would think. We had about 431 total answers. So we divide that by 5, you get roughly about just over 80 people have answered this particular thing. So that just reiterates what I've said. If you would get a yes answer overall of about 50%, that wouldn't be bad. That would indicate that we're heading in the right direction at least, but it's pretty low. The second list of questions, and I won't read all of these out, this is focusing specifically on information security best practices to get some feel for how far organisations are compliant. Are they doing the kind of things you would expect them to do? And this includes things about how they treat suppliers, how they deal with people who are no longer going to be with the company, do they take the appropriate steps to secure resources and secure information, etc. And again, we're looking for yes answers. And what we're getting for the most part is up to about 40% overall. That's an average of the answers that were given here. Now, I should perhaps note, if this is not already obvious, all of these questions are being asked of people in these organisations who are not necessarily in management. So this reflects the views that these people have of what management's view is, if you see what I mean. So this is them telling you what they think management does. But we reckon they're probably in a good position to make that judgment. So that was compliance. And again, we would like to have it at least 50%, or above, but we're around about the 40% mark. And some of them are around about the 50% mark, but not great overall. And you can read the details later if you have an interest in that level of information. It's in the paper. This is again just another few comments on the compliance aspects. Aspects such as physical separation between local network and internet, what they do with short-term contract employees, etc. Restricting the use of mobile phones within the organisation premises, only 13% reckoned that was done. The third set of questions was about security training and awareness, which asks the obvious kind of question about regular knowledge update for information security, training programs, refresher programs, and availability of hard copy. Again, we're around about the 33%. So you can imagine that by this point, by the time we get to the last set of questions, Fatia is already feeling vindicated because she can see that this kind of feedback is actually substantiating her suspicions that there's an apparent perceived lack of motivation on the part of management to provide adequate push, if you like, for security. And the last section, managerial attitude, again, I won't go through all the individual questions. That again came out very low overall, an average percentage of 24. So that's really reflecting the number of yes answers that we got for that set of questions. So what was done after that is that Fatia performed some analysis, and she took the management attitude as an independent variable. The management attitude was reflected in the first 5 questions. So that was provided as a composite variable. In fact, try that again. It was reflected as a complex independent variable. And the contrast with those were the three dependent variables on the other three aspects: the information security policy, training and awareness, and the compliance aspects. And so the idea is to perform an analysis to see how the reflections of the answers from the first is mapped to the kind of responses we got from the other three sets. And the first composite variable, which she called orgisma, I have to be careful how you say that, was actually the first set of questions, and the other three complex or composite variables are the subsequent other three sets. So we want to compare how the last three map to the answers on the first one. And the results show quite a strong correspondence. I mean, it was so marked in the actual percentage results that you won't be surprised to see that the results, when analysed, are actually statistically significant as well. That effectively means that the null hypothesis for the three points that we made was accepted. In other words, it's clear from this particular study how management attitude does correlate quite highly with these particular other three aspects of information security in that organisational context. So just to summarise, the study was looking at shedding light on information security as a management issue and the importance of management attitudes to that aspect. And based on the literature, it showed that the suspicion that management attitudes in Omani public sector don't actually encourage IIS practices is supported by that particular survey result. And again, a few figures that's just summarising what we saw in the earlier points. But actually, as I wanted to conclude, you might want to consider how likely it is that Oman is any different from many other places in this respect. There's no real reason to suppose Oman is unique in this regard. Not even that it's a Middle East or an Arab situation. So I'll leave it there and offer to answer any questions you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George. Any question?
Thank you, George, for your presentation. If I'm not mistaken, you mentioned that the student already work in the organization where this study did. I'm wondering if the student, or did the student think about doing this study in an interpretive approach rather than quantitative approach? Because yes, it can give more insight into the security context of the organization, because I believe it's more powerful than the quantitative approach.
I agree, and you may remember early on I said that there were several sections that she addressed, and the survey was actually the middle part. The third part was allowing the people that she spoke to provide their own views and their own comments, and that isn't accounted for in this particular paper, but that is available to her. I should perhaps add, although she works in Omani public sector, she did not, as far as I'm aware, these people she spoke to were in other organisations, not her own organisation. So I don't think she was being influenced in that regard.
It's not a single organisation, more than one organisation?
They were mainly government organisations, but they were drawn from a variety of different government departments, ministries, and so on. But I think she kept away from her own people.
What do you think about how she needed to validate the result?
Well, I suspect that will be one way in which she can use the other information from the more qualitative information. I suspect that will reinforce her conclusions about this. But yes, she is planning to do some follow-up study as well.
I think Dr. Jaffa's suggestion that using qualitative approach
yes,
as consider as a validation approach, but is that a flashback on the survey itself? I mean, because based on the result here, she goes and to go back again, ask the question
yes,
for different set of people, and see if that, for example, will give the same result.
Do I have time?
Yes, yes. I think she's planning to do further interviews. Yeah.
So I just have a
Question. I have a thought to share. In Australia, a hospital has been targeted to a major cybersecurity breach, and after the investigation, it's been found that most of the computer used within that hospital using Windows XP, and Windows XP, as you're aware, that has been expired, as no longer supported by Microsoft, no matter what antivirus engine is installed within your computer device. Another story, a big nuclear station in Japan, TIPCO, has been also hit by a major breach. And if that's really been taken seriously by attacker, that could cause catastrophic disasters threat to the country. Now, reviewing the management of these two examples here, there is no real force by the government in applying regulation and security. So there is really no push in applying security in management. So I think, again, it should be taken into consideration in applying or using method of measuring if security is being taken in consideration by management. Maybe we should ask ourselves, has the organizations been affected previously, and what's the risk if security has not been implemented? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I think those are good examples, and I agree entirely.
Thank you very much, George. Management attitude towards information security. Oh, sorry. I want to finish.
Again?
Okay, yeah, we will finish, don't worry. Website input validations and input misuse based attack. Iyad Azzam.
Thank you.
Take some moment. It's on.
Okay. Okay. Okay, thank you. Hello, good afternoon, or let's say good evening in a moment. First of all, I would thank you for your coming, especially after the lunch break, and it's hard when your stomach is full. First of all, I am so happy and delighted to be here to share this research with all of you. And I will thank the conference chairs for giving me, for making me like a stack, first in, last in doing my presentation. I want to thank, first of all, my colleague, Dr. Izzat Asmadi. He's working far away from here. He's in the United States. My name is Iyad Azzam. I'm working at Yarmouk University as an assistant professor, specialized in software testing. And today I'm going to talk about website input validation and input misuse-based attack. This is the outline of my presentation. First of all, I will just give a good introduction about the research area. Then I will just briefly say about related work. Then I'll explain our proposed approach, which is using a mutation technique, which is in the area of software testing. It's fault-based model to test website for possible SQL injection vulnerabilities. Then we'll show you our experiment and result, and we will conclude the presentation, and I will be happy to answer your question. Websites are heavily used by end users, like employees, customers, business partners, in order to communicate with each other. Every one of us here, I'm sure, we use website daily to send and receive information. Many services, many servers back in database are accessed through those websites. On some websites, the users do not need to have any access control or such as username, password to get or read information. However, there are part of those websites which are private, which require access control, such as username and password. So this website should employ or should use web forms or similar component to let the user to insert and receive data between each other. For example, forms, okay? We use it in order to send and receive information. The user is basically can enter simple information like username or password, or can create account. The forms contain a submit button which allow user to send information to the back-end databases to be processed, and then the user is going to be notified or giving a response based on the outcome result. From the perspective of user interface, those forms inputs should be validated and should give a user informative feedback. Why? To let them know, to understand the current process and what is going to happen next. On the other hand, it should be given informative feedback if there's an error, to let the user familiar of the type of the error and how can we fix it. So the forms input should be validated by using expression in order to make sure the input values are within the valid range. And from the security perspective, like when you give informative feedback to the user, might be hackers or illegal user, they use this informative feedback to understand the nature of the website in order to be awareness how to hack it. Okay, this is the related work. We just use SQL injection, and I think we had a good presentation explaining the SQL injection. It's a technique used to hack any application, which is any database-driven application, by writing SQL statement and to be processed in the back-end databases. There are many related work to prevent like string matching and security slicing for the SQL. There's tautologies, logical incorrect, these some areas in the SQL injection and so on. This is our approach. This is a new approach which is based on the mutation. In mutation testing, we use it in order to evaluate the effectiveness of test cases. How? By creating many copies of original code and injecting errors. These errors are injected according to the mutation operators. So we have many copies of the original code. Each copy just contains slightly error injected based on the mutation operator. Then we evaluate the test cases based on the mutants. If the test case can kill the mutants, we can guarantee, or we can say this test case has the capability in uncovering errors. And we can like compute the mutation scores by dividing the number of mutants, killed mutants, on the total of mutants. If the mutation score is high, we can say that these test cases are very good. In this approach, we are using the idea of a mutation to simulate the invalid input that could be occurred by user, like legal user, unintentionally or intentionally by hackers. So for each forms, we get the website, extract all forms. Then we extract the input fields. Then for every input fields, we determine the valid and invalid input classes. Then we apply, this will get the mutation operator. Then we apply this mutation operator to get the mutants. Then we simulate the website. So the mutation operator depends on depends on the three things: number of forms, number of inputs in each forms, and the number of invalid classes for each input value. Okay. We are still working this project. We just finished the half part of it. In the first stage, we have done a preliminary vulnerability assessment for several selected websites for university in Jordan. The focus is on security problems related to the forms and input validation, just for forms and input fields for input validation. We have used a security assessment tool called Vega. It's available online. We just use it based on Linux. In the second stage, we developed a tool to test website for possible SQL injection vulnerabilities. In the first step, a specific number of links is parsed from the evaluated website. we have chosen the university website, starting from its main home or entry page. Then we divided them into two categories. Links that include a query element. For those links, query elements are passed from each link. In the second case, hosts will be extracted from those link with no query element. Then HTML pages or page contents are extracted for each link. If pages include forms, then a list of possible string will be used to add in the empty text field. This is for just SQL injection assessment. This table shows some sample of input text that we have found in our experiment, and does some kind of indicating possible SQL injection vulnerability. This is the main result. Those are vulnerability assessment for university in Jordan. We have noticed, in each university, we have a server error application, which is a MySQL SQL injection problem. And we have it from many links, external links. We can't show the external links for privacy issue. And we have went through these links, and we found administrator of the website, they don't have any knowledge or awareness of those links. This is a very serious problem. And the other one is error in your SQL syntax. But we can't reveal those external links for privacy issue. So our conclusion, we evaluated the website's vulnerability for SQL injection attacks. Then we developed a tool to evaluate possible vulnerability for SQL injection pairs on a list of candidate test input. And the results showed that the majority of vulnerable web pages in the evaluated website come from external links. This is a big problem. And we propose, and we are still working on this model, to use a mutation testing to evaluate website for possible SQL injection vulnerabilities. We use a mutation to simulate the SQL injection, to simulate the invalid inputs and valid inputs based on the mutation operators. And I think I'm happy to answer your question.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you for, it's very interesting. How many websites you have evaluated? I mean, if you said Jordan universities, how many of them?
I think those 1, 2, 3, 9 websites.
9?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the university.
This the university names.
Yeah,
Okay,
Jordan
okay,
University, JAS, Hashim, Mota, Prince Sumaya, and Petra.
Oh, this kind of the vulnerabilities that is been. Okay, so I missed that. Sorry.
Thank you. Dr. Hassan, thank you very much for this interesting presentation. Indeed, I enjoyed it. However, I do have a question. So when you're saying, for example, the University of Jordan suffers from, I hope there is no one from University of Jordan and from the computer center. Yeah. So when you're saying there is a vulnerability within the login, right?
No, like in the website, there's input field text. Not a login, just a login.
A login data, exactly. It suffers from SQL injection, right?
Okay.
So how did you check the validity?
No, okay, because of the output. When we run it, okay, we get this errors.
Yeah.
Okay, we simulate it.
So this error.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Please.
Yeah, actually, just a clarification for the online scanner that used to scan the vulnerability in the website. Actually, it's give you a lot of results, but if this result, you need to go back and verify it manually because it's not guaranteed. It says there's a potential for cross-site scripting, but this doesn't mean that you can exploit this vulnerability to get an access. So you need to manually verify this vulnerability to confirm its actual vulnerability.
Right.
Thank you, Iyad. Dr. George. Now, just to let you know, the gala dinner will start. We closing the conference by the final presentation of Dr. Iyad, and the gala dinner will be at 7:30, 7:15. It's at the same area where we got our lunch time, but there is a green area outside. It will be 7:30, as I said. Thank you very much.
This is part somehow away from have a safe side.
Most of the people in Spain
لا براحتك. قريبة ولا بعيدة؟
But we haven't been to these Jordan moons where Jordan where Jesus stands. We've been to Israel, where Jesus is baptized. It depends which story you want to believe, right? But one thing Jordanians didn't do as well as in Israel. Israel really captured the story of Jesus. Really professional. Very professional. Yes, like I said, you've put through maybe Jordan meeting yeah.
هي طبعا
You know, Gregor,
yes.
We're having lunch on the 29th
of August.
August.
You want?
You want?
Yeah, I'd like that. So you,
okay.
You and Greg?
Yeah, me and Greg.
And Rod?
Rod not available.
Not available. Yeah, I'd like to. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
So I will whack an email with
Please,
Greg, right?
Yeah, would be fantastic. Yes.
And say you'll be joining us for lunch.
Yeah.
All right?
29th?
29th.
What's the date on the 29th?
I think it's on Monday.
Monday I'll be available. Yeah. As long as Wednesday and Thursday I'm teaching.
Right.
This is.
Because somebody else challenged you.
So I had some people operation. يلا صور زي ها
No, the doctor.
والله ما بعرفش الوضعية نفسها.
هيك خلاص هيك هاي اللابتوب هيك يلا ثانك يو
ألا تفكرون وزير جوز نصير وزير ها ها عندنا
صورنا أول شيء الوزير ها بعدين لحالي أرضية. Good. لحالي طبعا صورة هيك وانا بخطب على الاقل وانا رافع. حلوة؟ ها؟ يسلم حبيبي.
مش احنا قصدي ما بيقدروش يعرفوا مين الشخص.
ما في شهادة.
اسف انا بحصل لي شهر
ما في شهادة.
لا في.
متى؟
اليوم
10
بجيب
بالنسبة لنا جاء 10
اليوم
عادي مرات نظام ايش يعني زي الحجم مش ما شيء كثير يعني بتصير بس التكس ايوه
بس ما بدي اطلع، قولي لي بس تحكي بدك تصوري عشان اطلع. بتصوري. صورت معنا ولا واحد صورني؟ هلا عندنا بالتلفزيون خلص اللقاء بتاع يقولوا انت لازم تنزل راسك تعمل كت لهذول الموشن خلص عملنا منه قرب اكثر. ركز ايدك لانه مع الاضاءه اوكي ماشي خلاص.
تسكش؟ لا دكتور براحتكم عادي يعني هالشيء. اسمع هاي اهلا سيدي. جيت 11 يلا الله يعافيك.
لا مش رايح محمد. لا إذا ممكن شوية على الصبح. لا خلاص تطلع. لا تحدثت. خلاص تطلع. لا مش بس
بدك مساعدة؟ لا خلي كيف ثاني؟
الشهادة يعني ما عنده قول الشهادة قاعد بيحكي للعالم كأنه مستخدم كمبيوتر ولا بعرف شيء المختار الكمبيوتر يعني هيك فغير ما في ما تصنع فهو يعني مشان انه ما
لا مقصود بس اسمعت هيك
اكيد بعد ما تعرفش ما تقول اسم الموضوع دكتور موجود صار له سكون يكون عنده باك جراوند يشوف يقدر منين خلاص this is the gap this is currently the current situation the state of art and بعدين this is what we can do what the solution is and we contribute to the solution for this perspective and straightforward to the point it's a clear path
لا لا سنعوض ستة شغالة هذا يعني شهادة تكليف هذا جزء من الشباب بس فينا خلاص مش موضوع
هذا برزنتيشن انا ما بحكي عن مش تاعه انا برزنتيشن مش تاعه يعني مو يعني
وتو ميجر مين عندهم بس ما المشكلة برزنتيشن
لا لا انا ما بحكي عن قدر ما ابروتش
بعدين نشوف في الرحلة احنا متوجهين من الواحد شهر الشيء يمشي بشهر طويل دغري احنا شهر والله ما بتعرف
تعمل عشان ما في الكونفرنس الصيني
والله انا حكالي بس احنا نطلب بصراحه مش انا الام زي عندنا انه في خبر يعني كيف السنه الجايه ما حتى ليه انت انا مش عارف ازاي احنا قلنا لما نحضر نعمل هذا اشوف كيف اي تي ذاك وضمان اجتماعي انا لما بعمل في السنه 5 ايفنتس مشان احاول احصل على كل نظام. انا ماشي خلاص سوبر سبونسر كان سبونسر 10000 نجيب خلاص السنه ما بسوق تسوى هم السكين احنا نقول السنه كلها شوي انا لا بس مرة يعني ما تجيبش الانجليزي لا لا هي جامعة الشركة لا مضبوط بس ما بعرف هو يفسر احنا يعني انجليزي حتى لو كان في داعي نخليها هاي هلا؟ لا خلص لأن بدك تاخذ واحدة على المسطح وواحدة تطلعها على خلص لا ما في لها داعي خلص اوكي
عزمك عرفت عليه كان بعدين كانوا مع السعودية. ما شاء الله بس نجيب ما شاء الله. كثير عشان صار السنة سلمنا عليك. رجعنا على درس الإسلام.
صلينا احنا هيك هيك انا لي يومين بصلي هيك بس هيك على الحركه هيك على الحركه احنا الحركيه بتصير نحتار بس اسمع ايش؟ مرة أذكرك مرة أربع صلي هناك هذا يدرسوا المنتجات اللي ما بيعرفوا المفروض يطلع في مدير الرسم سفير بأبعاد جميلة. شفتوا بعد ما صار 65 عشان